Dog fans. Horns down, baby. Dogs get the huge 30-15 win. Everybody was against them. Game day, everybody picked them. Kirby Smart goes on the road, punches the Longhorns in the mouth, beats them, beats the refs 30-15. We talk about it. Bye week coming up, no stress. Also, we got Tim Cox from Cox Talking Gamecocks. He's going to talk about South Carolina's big win over Oklahoma. Talk about where the thoughts are on Shane Beamer going forward. Like, subscribe, share the podcast. That really helps out. Got a special new guest, Tim Cox from Cox Talking Gamecocks. Got his contact information. Always great to link up with college huddle representatives. How are we doing today, Tim?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. You know, I have to admit, I was a little nervous coming onto a Georgia podcast. Didn't know what I was in store for, but I think it's a safe space. I hope it's a safe space, and really happy to be chatting with you today.
Yeah, we're all friends here today, and also, you know, we don't play each other this year, so we can talk about whatever. First off on that, you think it's odd because I'm probably a little older than you that we're not playing this year because we had, you know, border bash. Mm-hmm. I was always around the Augusta area, and they had that for years. And it's just you guys are so close proximity to us. So how is it not playing Georgia this year with the schedule change?
It's weird, you know. I mean, I was in school during the Spurrier era, and so had some fantastic matchups with y'all. And so you guys were quickly rising in the ranks of like my hatred teams, right? Like the rivals that I just could not stand. And at first I was like, oh, okay, like Georgia's off the schedule. Like, you know, it'll be weird, but whatever. But now that we're actually in this, it is weird. And I think I have to say, I think I missed the rivalry there.
Yeah, completely understand. And with your defensive line and just our O-line issues, I'm kind of glad we're not actually playing you guys this year. And Vanderbilt. Glad we don't have to go on the road at Vanderbilt. Yeah.
I know. Well, we do, which, you know, when you look at the schedule, you know, to start the year, you say, oh, that's probably a W there. But now it's no cakewalk, which is crazy to say, but that's college football in this season.
Exactly. So Georgia coming off the huge, and I guess I can say that huge upset of Texas. Everybody was completely shocked. I thought everybody was against Kirby. Everybody on game day picked Texas. I think only a couple of actually YouTubers that I follow picked them. I picked them on my show, but that was a homer pick, to be honest. I didn't have the best feeling. But 30-15, everybody against them. The defense showed up, the best defense performance this year. Jalen Walker, that kid had 3 sacks in the first half, 7 for loss. He had a forced fumble, made some money probably here in Charlotte. So North Carolina kid. And I think it was just the different series that they had was like punt, fumble, punt, fumble, pick. I mean, they just I think it was 38 total yards in the first half. Mm-hmm. They made a quarterback change, which was a shocker for me. Like when I saw Arch, I was joking around. I think I was at Dilworth Bar and Grill here in Charlotte, Georgia Bar. And I was like, hey, do they have, you know, does he have the balls to do a Saban and put Tua in like in the SC championship game? Oddly enough, you saw him out there. I was like, I could not believe it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I know the guy was shut, but like this is a first round potential draft pick, Heisman Trophy candidate. You just benched him. I'm like, where's the confidence? Even though later Sarkisian said, I just wanted to settle him down a little bit. But I was shocked. And then that's before the chaos started with the infamous call. First off, as a Georgia fan, I didn't agree. I didn't agree with thought. I was sitting there. I was like, we got away with one right there. But then when they started throwing all the bottles, Bottlegate, Beergate, all that, and then they switched it, everybody started like, they can't do that. That's never been done. So I got that. Also, since we are talking about it, did a little research. You know, everybody does a deep dive. I don't like conspiracy theories. I'm gonna throw it out there. Matt Lafleur, pronounce his name. First off, TCU grad, has business in Texas, and his son is an alumni of Texas. And Georgia was there, so I'm just saying, I'm not saying there's a little home cooking there, but a lot of Texas at that head official there, just saying.
I mean,
you guys can look into it. But anyway, what was your thought, Tim, coming from a neutral fan?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it speaks to like a greater issue, which I don't know if we have time to get into, but officiating in college sports right now, college football, something has to give, I feel like. To spin it to South Carolina, if you watch the LSU game, got hosed multiple times, but I don't want to get myself upset here. I mean, I think it was wild to see, right? I mean, it feels like 99 times out of 100, if fans throw stuff on the field, it's a delay of game on that team or even an unsportsmanlike conduct on that team. You saw Sark on the field pleading with the students to stop, and somehow, some way, it gets spun their way, and you see the refs maybe peeking at the Jumbotron, things like that. I've just never quite seen anything like that. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, ball don't lie at the end of the day, but that was something that I hope it's not a precedent of things to come, because I don't know, but I think it speaks to a greater issue where officiating needs to have some sort of revamp or something like that. But that was a wild moment that, is going to be talked about for weeks to come.
It was crazy pandemonium. What a lot of people are saying egregious, but anyway, I felt, and then later targeting. So we had two guys on targeting. I want to ask anymore, like, what is targeting anymore? Because
apparently it's form tackling.
Players were leaning with their head. What are you supposed to do? I agree with one of them probably should have been targeting. I believe Dan Jackson, but the other one was a shoulder. It's a clear shoulder. And now we got two potential starters out for first half against Florida. I mean, we're pretty deep there, but still. So that's another issue is like what's targeting. And these like key matchups when these big time games, like they can change the momentum. And you could tell the momentum switched after the whole changing of the penalty. You could see the crowd lived up, really woke up, got them back going. Georgia was able to prevail and kind of silence them. But it was 23-15, and Georgia, you could tell, it was like, hey, the momentum switched, but we were able to rally. But still.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly lived up to the billing, right? You had game day there, was probably the top game on everyone's card outside of their own teams. And I think it lived up to it. But to targeting, the thing that drives me crazy with targeting is the next game suspension, because I just don't see how it correlates. And when you guys, because y'all have a bye, and so I was curious if it still is applicable. And when they said that, I was shocked. I was absolutely bewildered, to use an SAT word. But like, that's the one thing that's the biggest problem I have with the penalty. I like that they take it to review, but again, like you said at the start of it, what is targeting? Sometimes it looks like a form tackle, and then you have a running back or a wide receiver who's going low. Sometimes it's incidental, but I'm all for player safety, of course, but it seems like there's the subjectivity of it all is just brutal.
Yeah. I agree. Maybe they should go to everything's going to the NFL model with all the rules is do it in the NFL, 15-yard penalty. And I think it's a warning. You do it again, you're out. So do like 15,
something like that.
And then nothing is weird. They're still having the players stay on the sidelines. Like it used to be, go to the locker room. Like both of them are on the sidelines. That's weird too.
Or even if we want to adopt some of the NFL model, what they've done with the instantaneous, almost unsolicited booth review, that would take away a lot of this confusion too, like the penalty or not penalty with the bottle throwing, where they could have had an initiated booth review instantly and said, well, hey, this is actually not, and then we would have avoided some of that, or it in fact is a penalty. So that's one thing from the NFL I certainly wouldn't mind seeing come to college. And I think it'd be pretty easy to initiate, especially if we talk about the SEC having such all the great infrastructure that it does.
Right. Completely agree. So hopefully they'll clean all that up. I think it ended up being Texas is going to get $250 fine and also $250,000 fine, which is a drop.
I was going to say 250 is nothing for a University of Texas.
It is, drop in the bucket. Also, supposedly they're going to have cameras and try to look, make people not come anymore to ticket. I don't know how they're going to do that, but anyway, slap on the wrist. But I hope it changes. And I know Kirby and Josh Brooks, the AD for Georgia, had a written statement, and maybe it'll get some things going. But, obviously issue. And it's almost like players get in trouble, the coaches can get in trouble, but the officials, they never really get in trouble or any ramifications. So they need to work on all that, whole other issue. But anyway, great win for Georgia. Got the running game going. Trevor Etienne, 19 carries, 87 yards, and a touchdown. We had clean pockets. Carson Beck didn't have his best game. Another 3 picks. This is like 3 out of 4 games where he's had multiple interceptions. Got to clean that out. But I think everybody really liked it. But we'll hopefully get a bye week. And we had a lot of drops. I think we had 7 or 8 drops with, Kirby was saying that hurt the momentum. So maybe they can work on that in the off season. Not off season, the off week, bye week. And then we got Florida coming up and clean that up for the down the stretch. Plus, we're going to get some other guys back. But all in all, a huge win. Texas has to go on the road at Vanderbilt. We'll see how they respond. Georgia moves up to number 2. But all in all, great win. Just Georgia's back against the wall because you lose that game, you got 2 losses. I doubt a 9-3 team gets in, but huge in the playoff. And, got to do it.
They have to do horns down. I'll join you on that.
It is.
All the compliments you were paying to Georgia, I had to just sit here for a second, but I'll certainly get in on horns down.
And I liked him as an actor, but all right. He got a little humble pie, Matthew McConaughey on the sidelines. I know that's his team. But Georgia, great win. Also, before we get into Tim's big win, I think Texas A&M fans will probably need this afterwards, but they can also purchase them. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com, great sponsor of the show. 0 carbs, 0 sugar. Dawg House 20 for 20% off. My personal favorite is watermelon, elderberry, grapefruit. Great for round of golf on the golf course. Great at the pool. Great for the tailgate. Again, Texas Longhorn fans can get them a pack of, I believe it's 4 or 8 to drink all the sorrows away. But VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Check them out on VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Also on Instagram. They're definitely growing. I believe they're a sponsor of the hockey team, baseball team this year. Dawg House 20 for 20% off. And Tim, looking at the Gamecocks, I will give you on this. I actually enjoy going to the games in Williams-Brice. I secretly do kind of like Sandstorm, even though I was sitting there.
See, that's big of you to admit.
I do, even though if you start hearing it a lot, you're not doing well. But Sandstorm, I do like EDM. I'm one of those inside. I'm not going to do like this with you, but I'm like, all right, pretty cool atmosphere.
I think it was Gurley who said he hates Sandstorm because they had some battles there at Williams-Brice. But I appreciate you. That's big to admit. I haven't made it to Sanford Stadium, but I'll be very complimentary of Athens itself. Fantastic town.
Yeah. I will say one other one. I will say, even though you smoked Georgia that 2012 game, 35-7, on those videos, that was probably one of the loudest I've ever seen. I mean, that place looked like it was vibrating. Were you at that game, by the way, for that one?
I was.
How loud was that? That looked crazy on the YouTube videos.
Oh, it's bonkers. I got chills thinking about it. But it's funny. The other day, my fiance, she asked me a question. She's like, if you could relive one moment from your life, what would it be? And it was that game, 2012 Georgia at home. And she was like laughing and saying, it wouldn't be when we got engaged. And I said, no, it's that game. You just don't understand. So yes, it was electric.
Awesome. Well, here's a question on that, because I was just watching it, since you said you are engaged with a fiance, and they had this on game day about fall weddings. Is there a chance of a fall wedding there, Tim? Are we going to do?
No chance. It's in the summer. It's in the summer. I'll take a hot wedding over a fall wedding because of every reason that they listed on game day. There's a good man right there. You got a lot of friends and family saying good pick there. Yeah. that was rule number 1. Other design stuff, you go ahead, knock yourself out.
Awesome. Earlier in the day, I was paying attention to it. So South Carolina smokes complete beating of Oklahoma.
A womp.
35-9, impressive, moving up to 4-3. And I'll give it to you guys. You guys have been scrappy this year, is the word I would say too. You had Bama on the ropes. That LSU game, I know that was frustrating, but you guys could easily be 6-1. So,
I mean, like 5-1. Yeah, 5-1, 6-1. So it's certainly a tough spot. You don't want to look back, right? It is what it is. You are what your record says you are, but this defense that we have this year is going to keep us in every game. And it's really something. They themselves scored 14 points in the first quarter. Really just set the tone early in that game. And Oklahoma has its own set of issues, but anytime you go on the road in the SEC, especially in a place like Norman with such passionate fans, it's going to be a challenge. So it was amazing to have a, relatively speaking, low stress Saturday, which is few and far between for the Gamecocks. Second half, I would have liked to see some more offensive production. You were, right on the edge of, scoring, but you had a couple penalties and it took a bad sack, not get a field goal range. But nonetheless, it was a fantastic day. And also, just to say, you should have stayed in the Big 12 was just awesome to say to a brand like that.
completely agree. To go on the road in their house and do that to them was very impressive. So yeah. Great win. And then with this rise of the defense, because I don't remember quite the numbers. Do you think it's more transfer portal, recruiting, your D-line coach? What's made it such an elite defense and defensive line this year?
Yeah, it's really a mix of all the above. Like it's a veteran group where you do have those guys that were recruited. Talking about a guy like safety Nick Manwari, O'Donnell Fortune at the corner spot, linebacker Debo Williams, and then if we're looking at the defensive line, a guy like TJ Sanders, Boogie Huntley. These are guys who have been in the program for years now, and they've been good. But through other recruiting and then also transfer portal additions, there's finally that quality depth that was so evident it was missing in years past. But you have to call out Kyle Kennard, transfer edge from Georgia Tech, having a career year, like blowing away all of his numbers from last year. He's been a monster, which has allowed Dylan Stewart, who was a 5-star recruit on the edge, to also thrive. And then a guy like Demetrius Knight, transfer linebacker, he's also brought physicality and speed to that position. So it's been a mix of everything that has culminated in this year. And I got to give props to Shane Beamer, because the defensive coordinator, Clayton White, last year, he was under some fire. You know, the defense had been pedestrian for his entire time here. Little improvement in year one, but the fans and the media were kind of wavering on him. But Shane Beamer stuck with his guy. He saw something at the end of last season, and it's paid off handsomely this year, and it's been a blast to watch.
That's great to hear. And, yeah, you guys have been very, very impressive and scrappy. So first I wanted to ask, you're 4-3, little past the midway point.
Mm-hmm.
What was your original season prediction for you guys earlier in the year? If you did any preseason picks.
Yeah, so I'm like a forever optimist. You know, if people tell me I wear the garnet glasses, but like I look at it like if I'm gonna be the negative Nancy all the time, what's the point? So I tried to keep the season prediction realistic, and I had us at 7-5.
Okay.
I thought the defense would be improved, not quite this. I thought the offense would have its struggles but eventually get it going. So I actually had Carolina at 3-4 at this point. I had us beating Kentucky on the road and everything else happening with the exception of Oklahoma. So I had us being at 3-4 and then winning 4 out of 5 in November, which now that I say that was pretty daunting. But so I have us, a little bit ahead of schedule right now. But yeah, that's where I had us landing.
Okay, gotcha. And look ahead. I've got the bye week. Maybe get some things tightened up, heal up some guys. Got Texas A&M, which is quietly tied for the SEC lead, even though they got LSU both tied. At Vanderbilt, with Vanderbilt looks more competitive this year. Missouri, Watford, and your beloved at Clemson, Death Valley.
Yes.
So what are you looking at down the stretch? This you're 4-3. How would you? What do you think you guys will finish?
You got 3 games at home, so you'd like to think you could win at least 2 out of 3 at home, right? So either you're splitting A&M and Mizzou. A&M after the bye week, refreshed. That game's at night. We just talked about Williams-Brice, tough place to play.
Okay.
Again, this defense is going to keep the team in it. That feels possible, right? Vanderbilt, yes, having a better year, but I think the team and the defense, again, can go up there and handle that. Then you have Wofford, Missouri. So I think when you look at Wofford, Missouri, Vanderbilt, A&M, you can find 2 wins out of those. That's your 6th. And then I actually had the beginning of the year, Carolina going up to Clemson and upsetting the Tigers. And at the time I said squash some playoff hopes, but with the ACC, that seems like that's probably a shoo-in for them. But that's how I had it shaping up in my prediction.
So you kind of go stick with that 7-5 if you had to pick 3 out of the.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think so. I think that's probably realistic. I mean, anything's on the table. I mean, really, anything is on the table. I think 8's possible. To win out, that seems steep, but anything is on the table, really. If this offense can improve over this bye week and we can continue to bring along Lenore Sellers, young quarterback, offensive line can tweak some things. That's the one thing that can, if you can match the defensive effort, then this team really sky's the limit. But to keep it a little bit tempered, 7 or 8 wins at this point, that's what I see.
I can see that realistically. Texas A&M, I'm still not sold on them. I think they had the weaker schedule. And defense travels. You guys will have the night game, so I'll give you that. Vanderbilt, you're going to have to get motivated. As you know, that's like the high school stadium there, and they are sneaky scrappy this year.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Missouri's got issues. Brady Cook, I think he's got the ankle injury. Not sure as long as they're just looked pedestrian. I mean, just not right. Even with Luther Burton, got Wofford used to win that, and then at Clemson, are you one of those? You want it at 12, 3:30 or night game? I know it's rivalry. What would you prefer? I know it's at Death Valley.
Whatever. I would play Clemson on the moon if we had to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But if we're gonna split hairs, it's sure you want a day game, but it's a rivalry game. It's gonna be sold out no matter what. But Shane Beamer has one up there. He has one up there, and so he's not intimidated by that. Clemson, yes, maybe they've gotten it a little bit together offensively compared to when they played y'all week 1, but I still think weak ACC, they might be peeking ahead to that ACC championship, playoff spot, all that jazz. So you never know at the end of the year, can South Carolina go up there and want to play spoiler a little bit, maybe have that little bit of edge to them. So we'll see.
Plus, they were rolling with Cade Klubnik, but I think Georgia showed a little bit of the blueprint, and their defense has actually been giving up some points. So you guys with your defense, I think hopefully, rivalry game, anything can happen, keep it close.
Yeah, we'll see. But it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. And then but the explained playoff, all the other teams, we're just going to see throughout college, Carolina and Georgia aside, there's going to be so much action this back half of the season where some other times maybe it wouldn't have been as intriguing to watch some of these matchups. Right.
Did want to ask, because I actually had him on one of my other ones like preseason. I had him hot seat just because I thought he might have a tough year. But what's your thoughts on the pulse of Gamecocks with Shane Beamer currently at 4-3?
Yeah, I like him. I mean, I'm a Beamer fan. I think he has the right temperament and attitude for the South Carolina job specifically. It's a tough job. You got to recruit against Georgia. You have to recruit against Clemson. You right up the road, you have UNC as well. South Carolina, not historically, this hotbed of recruiting at the high school ranks, but he wants to be here. I think he connects to recruits well. He understands how to use the portal well, doesn't rely on it. So far, he's had a lot of hits through the portal, Rattler being one of them, right? The guy like Kyle Kennard being another. And I think he embodies this new age college coach, that CEO type figure who can hire guys to do jobs well, and he can sort of manage things on the side and motivate his team. He's built a fantastic culture, and I like where we're going. I don't know if I saw this somewhere. I've credit to whoever wrote this, but I don't know if we're quite turning the corner as a program, but we're headed in the right direction. And I think Beamer's the guy for the job. The one thing, if you're going to knock him, is that if there is a glaring weakness where some coaches might be able to pull the trigger on it quicker, meaning let a guy go, Beamer has tended to hang with these guys a little long, like the offensive coordinator before Dowell Loggins and, Marcus Satterfield. Writing was kind of on the wall that wasn't going to pan out, stuck with them.
Yeah.
It still didn't really look great. Maybe if you get rid of him, you have a better year. But I'm a fan of his. It seems like he's maturing as a coach. A couple of little things like less antics on the sideline. He's still going to be a passionate guy. But overall, I'm a fan of his. And, I think if this year went really sideways, he would have been on the hot seat. But I do think this has cooled a lot of that talk.
Yeah, completely. Seems like he's a loyal guy, which is good. Could be good and bad sometimes.
Yeah. Good. It's good and bad. I mean, we talked about 2 seconds ago the defensive coordinator. You get rid of him, you might not have the success you're having this year. But at the same time, if there is a glaring weakness like an offensive line that's underperforming consistently, or an offense, that's where you got to maybe make some tough calls. But we'll see how the rest of the season shakes out and the offseason thereafter.
Yeah, completely agree. And then real quick, wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this upcoming week since Georgia and South Carolina's off. game day, I believe, is going to be at Indiana. And then also you have a huge matchup of –
is it Nebraska?
We'll be headed to the NFL, Indiana, which is sneaky good at 7-0. But
Indiana, Coach Siggs, that is just electric there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the fact they're going to game day.
No, I think actually they just played Nebraska. Yeah, they just played Nebraska.
Yeah, so they got Washington, as they call it, 12 o'clock. So good for them.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, what a story, Indiana. I mean, and it's just I think it's a testament to sort of this new age of college football, which maybe for someone like yourself who's from the establishment and, previously in the 4-team playoff was riding high, but for the rest of us who wouldn't have smelt that top 4, it allows, some of this hype and excitement. It opens the door for a lot of these programs, and transfer portal can help level the playing field in some instances. You could have a team that has a boatload of NIL money that could maybe, have a good year that traditionally didn't. But I think Indiana is a testament to just a good football coach who knows how to get the most out of his guys, because anywhere he's gone, he's won. But who knows? It's been a heck of a year. It's only going to get more wild.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of chaos, but it has made an even playing ground for everybody. And, you might have a chance of like an Army and a Navy if they went out.
Love that. Would love that for America.
Exactly. Also, there was a crazy thing they were saying, if they're both in the same conference, if they both have one loss and played, that would you play the Army-Navy traditional game a week after, because it's a week after the conference championships. That's kind of a weird setup if they would play each other together. See how they do that.
Yeah, it is weird. And I think the final rankings are out before that game, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there, but it's a phenomenal story, both those programs. It's so cool to see.
It is. It should be interesting to see coming up, but a little less stress for us this weekend. We can kind of sit back and maybe do some other things or focus on some other games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, Tim wanted to see how we can follow your content on social media. Got your Cox Talking. Great pic of you right there. Looks like yelling at the game. Got over 2,000 followers. But tell us about your content.
Yeah, appreciate the plug there. Yeah, so have a podcast on social media. It's Cox Gamecocks on my last name, and then Gamecocks. And then Instagram is just the name of the show, just at the top there, Cox Talking Gamecocks. I post Mondays and Fridays during the season, all sports, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and baseball. And then in the summer, when baseball ends, I scale it down to just Friday. But been doing it for a few years now. We've had a couple of student athletes on for interviews. Keep it light. Keep the shows typically kind of short. I always say it's just like you're talking sports at a bar with your buddy. That's kind of the approach I take with it. But it's been fun. And then thanks to the College Huddle bringing us both together and all the great people who are doing work there. So it's been fun to also post articles and things like that there as well.
Yeah, definitely check out Tim on there. Tim or on Cox Talking Gamecocks. Also he's on Apple Podcasts. Please, Spotify. I was listening to his Apple Podcast, the most recent one. I always thought it's impressive too that you can go, 25, 30 minutes by yourself and talk. I'm one of these. I got to have another person to talk to.
I'm weird, man. I'm weird. I get talking when it's football season, especially too. I can just sit there and talk.
But Tim, really appreciate you coming on. And if everybody's still sticking around, make sure to like, subscribe, share. Dawg House Podcast. We're doing great things. Over 500, heading towards hopefully 600 subscribers. We're getting there. But really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks again, Tim. Go Dogs and go Cox.
There we go.
Thank you.